Well, good evening. We welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you guys, we are going to have an awesome time on this evening. Got a very special guest that's going to be joining me tonight. Our baby girl, our youngest daughter, Shyia Clark. And I tell you guys, this is going to be one for the books. That's all I can say, guys. This is going to be one for the books. We've been having like some serious dialogues, and we was like would be an absolute blessing to the million of viewers that view us on a bi-weekly basis. And I tell you guys, you will not be disappointed. There's so many viewpoints that are attached to blended families. And so a lot of times you guys, well, over the last, wow, 5 years, you primarily heard from myself and Madeline and a couple of the uh, guests that we brought on. But I think this is Shia's second or third time being on broadcast with us, but it's been a couple years. And so, again, it doesn't matter how recent or how far along it's been, the conversations are still real. And that was a little technical difficulty, but we just want to be a blessing,
Yeah.
you guys, with sharing our life and sharing our journey, um, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, how we've overcome, how we're yet still overcoming, the different struggles, the different victories. And so I was like, hey, let's do this Tuesday. And so she agreed. We both made our schedules available, and here we are. And so again, this is our youngest daughter, Shia, and I call it no holds bar. she don't she don't hold no punches, man. I'm trying to tell you, when it comes to discussing things, this girl don't hold back. But it's a blessing. It's a blessing because everybody has a role in blended families. The parents, the husband, the wife, the sons, the daughters, the children, everybody has a role and everybody is significant. And so we're going to discuss some things tonight. It's going to be almost like she's going to be interviewing me. She's going to be interviewing me. She's going to be asking me some questions. Some questions I know, some I don't. You know what I'm saying? But we have um, vowed to be upfront, to be transparent, to be open, so that you guys can get a real inside peek into our lives, our family lives, um, and what makes what we do so significant and so important. And so, me, I could talk all night, but I got somebody that could do a little talking too. So, Shia, if you want to go right ahead on it with the questions, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump straight into it. I know we don't have a lot of time. But the conversations, like you said, that we have been having has been, just really deep and just getting to learn and understand, both perspectives or both point of views, as my father, my stepfather, as your daughter, your stepdaughter. But one of the things is that came to my mind is like, okay, let me ask him, what do you believe are the good qualities of being a father?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow, it's so much to being a father. It really is. It's more than just being a provider. It's more than just being somebody that gives instructions. It's more than the traditional things that most of us have learned coming up. Unfortunately, if you came up like I did, while you may have had a father in the house, you wasn't really taught the role of a father and the responsibilities of a father. Because for most men, when it comes to the household, as long as they paying bills, you got a roof over the head, you got clothes on your back and food on the table, they feel like they fulfilled their job. And unfortunately, when I got in this family dynamic, I had that same mindset, and so I missed it. I, I totally missed it because I didn't I I didn't have relationship. Fatherhood is about relationship. It's about developing a relationship that builds into uh, a productive individual. And so if you don't develop fathers, if you don't develop a relationship with your children, I don't care how many toys you buy, I don't care how many designer clothes they wear, I don't care how big the house is or how nice the car that you're transporting your family in. I don't care how any of those things are. You're not fulfilling the role of a father. The job of a father, one of the biggest jobs of a father is to direct the children or the child in the direction that they should go. The Bible says that children are like arrows, and the father's job is to cock that arrow bow and shoot that child in that direction. A lot of times we see parents that have taken a real interest in the goals of their children's lives, the development of their children. Those are the fathers that have a little bit more understanding. Now, there are different ways that a lot of them have gone through to get their children there, but they still have that understanding. And so, if you're not directing your children, if you're not shooting them in the way they should go, then you're failing miserably. You're failing miserably. And so, uh, that's pretty much it. It's not a deep thing. It's not a profound thing. It's just functionality. You just have to function in roles. Again, being a father is more than just being a provider. Being a father is being a good listener, uh, a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to cry on, somebody that has wisdom or that produces wisdom, that is full of love, that's there, uh, not vacant, not far off. Even if you're not in the home with the child, you can still exhibit those characteristics. You can still produce those things. And so we're not saying that you have to be in the home, but you do have to be in the home. You know, I was there, but I wasn't there. I was there, but I was locked up in my own little sanctuary. I come home, close the door, don't bother me. You know what I'm saying? Don't knock on the door. I see you in the morning when I take you to school. And so again, me being the individual that I am, that have no problem with sharing my pitfalls and my downfalls, as well as my victories, will let you know I failed miserably. I had three daughters and a son that I didn't fulfill the role of a father. I'm fulfilling those roles now and still yet learning how to fulfill those roles. But early on, I missed it miserably. And so that's part of the discussions that myself and Shy have been having, wow, for quite some time.
Yeah, well, that took you. That was my next question. I mean, for me, growing up, and I've expressed to you, a couple of different times, like how can you call yourself a father, but you ignore home? Just because you are there doesn't mean that a relationship is being built or that you're actually being or playing that role as a father that you signed up for, but dad, you just pretty much already hit on that one.
No, no, I mean, because it is real. Again, just because you're there doesn't mean you're there. And so you got children who are battling all kinds of emotional disorders because A, they had a father that was there, but he wasn't there, or B, they had a father that wasn't there and refused to be there. And so when you're having those struggles, because we're all created to be relational. That's a part of our dynamic, our creation. We're relational. And so we love communication. We love someone talking to us, someone communicating with us, someone hugging us, someone caressing us, someone encouraging us. We're created for those things. And we're created also to give those things back out. And so when that is lacking, subsequently all kind of things come behind that. Like I talk about myself a lot because I could talk about me because I can't get mad at me. Because me and Shy, we was talking the other day, and I said there's some things that I just will not discuss unless you give me the permission to discuss. If you don't bring it up, if you don't put it out there, I won't bring it up and put it out there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not my experience. It's my experience by way of you, but the experience was not my experience. Now I could talk about my experiences. And so growing up, I saw my father just about every night. I really don't even remember going to bed and not seeing my father. I really can't say that there were times where, well, let me correct that. There were times of separation, but that was their thing. But when we were in the home, I always saw my father. But although I saw him and although he was there, for me, he wasn't. Now, yes, he made sure I had a roof over my head. Yes, he made sure I had clothes on my back. Yes, he made sure my shoes were good and I didn't have holes in my shoes and all the things that you think you should be providing for your family, the tangible things. But for as a father and son, that wasn't there. I didn't have talks with my father on how to be a man and what you should do when you become a man and grow up and the different things that kind of lead and guide me. The things I learned by I don't want to say osmosis, but I learned I learned by just viewing. You know what I'm saying? I had friends and I had cousins and I had uncles and of course I had a father that I can quote unquote glean from, but the actual sitting me down and having open conversations with me and giving me direction, giving me instruction, giving me love. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't recall the I think the first time I really recalled my father hugging me, I was already a grown man. Now I'm not gonna say that he didn't. I'm just going off of recollection. Because that's important to say. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause sometimes we say stuff didn't happen
Mm.
and it did, but we blocked it out. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say that he didn't do it. I'm just going by memory of the first time I really remember him embracing me. I was already an adult. And so I took that same ignorance, not calling him ignorant, I'm just saying a lack of knowledge. I took that same lack of knowledge and carried it into my marriage relationship and my family dynamic. And subsequently and consequently, there were some things that happened because of that. Because A, I didn't get the instruction, but let's be clear, I didn't seek it either. And so this is one of the things that Shy and myself were talking about is about although some things may have been, we still have a responsibility as individuals ourselves to make sure that we get the right information, to make sure
Right.
that we're doing the right things. Just because we were raised or brought up or experienced some things in life, it doesn't excuse us from doing what we supposed to do to be the best that we can be. Remember, your response is your responsibility. My response to life wasn't my father's responsibility. It was my responsibility. Now, he had a responsibility to lead me, but even if he didn't do it or do it to the fullness, it still was my responsibility to learn what it was I needed to know before I stepped into this. And so I hope that kind of answered your question, baby.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And sometimes I don't think parents, sometimes realize the effect that, just the smallest words have on children. Now, I remember it's been a couple of times when we had our family meetings, and you used to explain, well, I'm not Walter Clark, my biological father. I'm not your father. I'm not your father. And not saying it, you know, in those conversations as ill will or anything like that, but just bringing those facts up, like, okay, you're not my father. Yes, my father is absent in my life, but you're here playing the role of my father, and yet you're still absent in my life. But with that being said, I'm not a father. Just that simple statement,
Yes.
even though it wasn't ill will, it was like a double whammy. It's like, I'm not your father. Yeah, I know. I can see it. This is how you're acting. But not only that, dang, this dude over here too. Like just the little things that we think we are making or using for a comparison for good may not be good. It may do a lot more damage, to children, in how it's delivered. So
No,
yeah, I want to
listen.
throw that out there.
No, 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 and that's what I love because how me and you flow. We just
Hmm.
like tennis. You know what I'm saying? We just hitting that ball back and forth. But it's important to understand, especially from a parental standpoint or a blended parent standpoint, you have to be very conscious of the words that you speak. And I remember very vividly what Shai is talking about. Because for me, my statements were twofold. My statements were one because I had a son, and out of what I thought was respecting their father, I would say certain things, not realizing the impact that it was having on them. And so me saying I'm not your father, like Shai said, was never out of will intent. It was just saying, listen, I'm not here to take his place. Not understanding that I was really there to take his place. And so you have to understand that when you're there, that's your role, that's your responsibility. And you take it on. I will always say, these are my daughters. Nobody has ever heard me say, these are my stepdaughters. Never heard me say that. But I didn't treat them like they were my daughters. I didn't entreat them like they were my daughters. I didn't love them like they were my daughters. Although I loved them, I didn't love them like they were my daughters. It's a difference because you can have a love for a person, but you don't love them because love is action. God so loved that he gave. And so the giving of myself to them was absent. And so by me saying those statements like I'm not your father, although I know I'm saying, listen, I'm not trying to replace him. I'm here to add to him. I'm here to help him, assist him. But you can't determine how the next person receives what you say because you don't know where they're hearing from. And like Shia said, hey, listen, I got this guy here and he ain't trying to do whatever. And then you right here and you ain't trying to do whatever. So it's like a double whammy. You know what I'm saying? Not understanding that I was presenting the double whammy. I was really the one hitting the nail on the head. Now the nail was on the board, but I was the one hitting the nail on the head. I was the one knocking that thing in. And so it's important, man, whether you are the blended father, whether you're the blended mother, you got to understand that your words mean so much. And you have to always be in the mind frame of thinking before you speak. I just say this to my wife all the time when we first got married. Just because it enters now, watch this. I'm telling somebody something I'm not even doing myself. But just because it enters your head does not give it permission to come out your mouth. Just because it comes in your thoughts doesn't give you permission to say it. Whether how pure you think it may be or how harmless you think it may be, just because it enters your head does not give it permission to come out of your mouth. And so I I did some damage, man, just by saying dumb stuff, just by saying ignorant things. And because it was a lack of knowledge. I had no one to sit down with me. You guys heard me tell the story, and then I'm gonna let Shia ask this next question because I know she's ready. But you guys heard me talk about our counseling. My wife and I, our marriage counsel was 15.2 seconds. That's how long our marriage counseling was. 15.2 seconds. Do you love her and do you love him? And that was the gist of it. I kid you not. We had the worst counseling session ever. And so the things that we learned and figured out, we had to learn and figure out because there was no uh, preparation to assist us in going into this blended family dynamic.
Yeah. So I know, and this is not really a question, but one of the things that I felt like was taken away from me, growing up and already, feeling the hurt and the pain of the relationship of not having either father in my life, but not even being able to voice that without it being, I'm not going to say backlash, but more so, well, the sky's blue. Nah, it's red. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's how it would flow. Like just not even having the freedom to be able to speak and say, "Hey, I feel like this," or "Hey, could we try this?" or "Could this happen?" or ideas, suggestions. Just being able to communicate. You know,
Yes.
communicate, and that played another.
Hold on, Sean. Listen, fathers, hear what she's saying. Please, fathers, listen to what she's saying because it took a minute to get this understanding. Go ahead, baby.
Yeah, it that really for a while took my voice away from me. And I'm not saying like, walking around feeling all, what's the best word I can use? Like on the outside, out
Hmm.
on the outside, not all, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Help me somebody. What's the word I'm looking for? Timid. Okay. Not,
Got it.
when I mean taking my voice away, not like out in the world being timid
Yes.
and can't speak my mind, but just like a family love. You know what I'm saying? Being able to. It took us when we just recently, started talking about these things, and I'm 35, and it took me because I felt like as a child I didn't have a voice to be able to express how I feel to you, and now I'm 35 years old, and it's now finally all coming out. It's now finally all being dealt with.
And
35 years.
and this is important, guys, because I've been in Shy is 35. And so I've been in her life for 25 years. So you're talking about at age 10, her voice was taken away from her. Because I grew up in the mindset of a child is to be seen and not heard. The kind of crazy stuff that our parents raised us up in. And because I wasn't actively raising children, I was clueless. And so you just automatically go back to what you was given. And so, we now let me be clear. I had a mother that I can have certain discussions with, but I didn't have a father that I could have certain discussions with. And you'll hear me say a lot about my relationship with my father, but let me be clear. I understand that he did what he knew. He did what he knew and he did what he chose to do. So everything he did wasn't just because he knew that, but the gist of the most of the things that he did was because that's the way he was raised. And so there are cycles, man, that we have to say, you know what? We're breaking this generational cycle. I have to break this cycle because I don't want the next generation to be without a voice. I don't want the next generation to be without love, to be without comfort. Because when you don't allow a child to have a voice, when you don't pour into a child and let them know how important they are and how special they are and how loved they are and how wanted they are and how appreciated they are, then what happens consequently is most children grow up with all this anger and rage. And and if left undealt with, it becomes destructive. That's a whole nother episode me and Shy might talk about.
Yeah, yeah, and that I was going to actually say something about that too, and it really does become dangerous. And I know we didn't joked about this, but it's really not nothing to joke about when at 11, 12 years old, and I'm trying to figure out how I can just kill you and blow you up using a grill. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's a joke, but
No, listen, guys.
it's
No,
real.
this,
And
this is real. I mean, she was like 11 years. Like we used to always cook out. I was like, man, listen. you know, we got this house. We gonna get us a grill. And I cook. You know what I'm saying? We bought the food and put the stuff on the grill. So everybody had a responsibility. I'm big on that. Everybody got a role. This one got the kitchen. This one got the bathroom. This one got the rest of the house, stuff like that. And so Shy, that was my girl. And so like, hey, you prep the grill for me. So this one particular day, man, I don't know what I said to her, but she was here with me. She went out there and we would get these self-lighting charcoal. So you didn't really have to add any fuel, any lighter fluid to it because it already all you do is set a match and they go. And this girl, she had that can and she drenched that thing, man. And I go out there to light that joker. All I know is all the hair on my arms and eyebrows are cinched. And so, we laugh about it. Even at that moment, to me it was funny. Uh, it was a little scary, you know what I'm saying? But it was a byproduct of what I was producing. It was a byproduct of what I was producing. And one of the things that I had to learn was that there are consequences to the choices that I was making. And a lot of things that we dealt with as a family was a direct consequence of my choices, of my decisions, of the way I was behaving, the way I was acting, the way I was projecting myself. And so, but I didn't know that those things that I was looking at small were large in their lives. You know what I'm saying? And for years, years, there was this hatred and this anger towards me because, and let me say this. That's why it's important to have conversations. One thing that she'll tell you, we we always set up conversations, but early on they were just mainly one sided. As they got older, as they became adults, then you could no longer have one sided conversations. You can have a one sided conversation with an adult. You shouldn't anyway. You know what I'm saying? But by them being adults and them being free to express themselves in any manner that they wanted to, it opened the door for us to really have some heart to heart conversations. And I'm talking about we've had some heart to heart conversations.
yeah,
Some heart to heart conversations. I'm talking about tears rolling, snot dripping, the whole 9 yards. But it brought about an understanding and it brought about a deeper love and appreciation that we developed for one another because we just begin to talk, and there were no uh nothing blocking it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't say, okay, well, we can't discuss this. No, we're gonna discuss it all. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you feel you need to discuss with me, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And listen, as parents, stop making excuses, man. Stop making excuses for your ignorance and for your bad behaviors. Acknowledge that you did that. Acknowledge that you did and said things that you should not have done and said. Acknowledge that and be sincere about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't act just like because you were a parent that you get a pass for being a pass without the P. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Be truthful about it. Somebody stepping in. Uh, no, I don't. Somebody, Madeline said there's a question for Pooh.
and
From Keisha Long. Uh, what would you say, Shy? What would you say to younger children entering into a blended situation with a new step parent? not used to a father figure, not used to having a father figure around.
So what would I say? You know, that's kind of hard to say because
Case by case.
yeah, because it is a case by case thing. You know, it's a case by case thing. Um, but for the child, don't be afraid to speak up, to go and say, "Hey, mommy, daddy, I feel like this," you know, and being able to express yourself to that maybe stepmother or stepfather, because without that communication or without you being able or that child not being able to say how they feel, it'll really make them feel like this. And you know, that's all I would have to say about that.
No, I love it, man. Listen, like Shy said, if you're a child, if you're watching us and you're a child and you're experiencing, some of the things that I was talking about that I presented, listen, go to that parent and say, hey, listen, I I got a voice. I got a voice. There's something that I want to say. There's something that I need to say. You know what I'm saying? And if you're a father or mother that's watching this episode, understand that child has a voice, man. They have something to say. Their voice and what they have to say is just as important as your voice and what you have to say because you're developing. Listen, we don't raise children. We're literally raising young adults. We're not raising children. We're raising young adults because they're not going to always stay children. And so if you don't allow their voice to be heard at that point, when they get older, they won't use it properly. That's why
And
you got some people. Go ahead, babe.
another thing I would say, and you know, for you know, this probably won't be a factor for the younger children, you know, but hitting them teens, you have to understand, even as a parent, you know, we are all individuals, minus a title. We are all individuals. You know what I'm saying? Parents deal with stuff as parents that kids don't understand. Kids deal with stuff as kids, or children deal with stuff as children that parents don't understand. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's another great point is don't put your parents on a pedestal and think that they're supposed to be so perfect, like they're gonna walk in this great miracle. You know what I'm saying? Like just everything is gonna flow, everything is gonna be great. It's not gonna happen that way. But with communication, you know, it'll make it that much easier.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because, like for myself, I was a minister when I first, met them, and when me and Madeline got married, I was a minister, getting ready to be ordained elder, and so, from their standpoint, I wasn't even a man. I was a man of God. So how you gonna be
Hmm.
a man of God and being a fool?
Yeah.
How you gonna be a man of God and being a fool? You know what I'm saying? Like really, dude? Like but not understanding that they weren't looking at me as a man. They were looking at me as a man of God, as a title holder. And so with that title in their eyes, there was no room for error because I didn't speak like there was room for error. So if I didn't speak like there was room for error, then why was I allowing error to be in my life? And so not understanding the impact that was making in their lives. Because let me tell you something, folks gonna let you know about your title. you better, you better believe that. They gonna let you know about that
If
title.
nothing
Forget
else
you.
ain't true.
I don't care if you're a man or a woman. They gonna let you know about that title. And so, and watch this, rightfully so, rightfully so, because with great levels come great responsibilities. And you have to properly manage every area of your life. That's your responsibility to manage that. That's not their responsibility. That's your responsibility. And it's your responsibility to project the right images. It's because watch this. You can't say all police officers are bad because some police are bad. But the truth of the matter is, because of some bad police officers, most police officers are looked at as they're bad. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. When you have that encounter, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Why? Because there are few that have that title, that have that position, that have not represented that the way they should. And so, because we've had this, listen, we've had some conversations. Some we can share, some we might got to share later on. You know what I'm saying? But it came with it. It came with it. And yes, I'm a man first, but hey, I didn't wear a title that say man first. That was the title that I wore. That was the position that I was in. And so I had to become conscious of all those things. And before you answer this question, Shad, understand this, man, that it only takes a short amount of time to make a mess, but it could take years to correct that mess. This
Yeah.
conversation we're having is years of fixing mess, years of correcting dumb statements and dumb actions and dumb thoughts and all those different things. This conversation tonight is a combination of years of correcting a few years, early on years of just dumbness. And we're still yet correcting some stuff.
Yeah.
we, we're still yet, we ain't there yet, but we there because we both came into this like, hey, we want it. You gotta want this thing, man. You gotta want it. A lot of us, Shy was talking about parents have stuff that they go through, and children have things that they go through. And as a parent, you can't forget when you was a child, man. And that was one of the things that I did. I dismissed my feelings as a child, and I wasn't conscious of their feelings as children. Had I not dismissed the previous, I would have been more conscious of the latter because I was a child before they were children. I had experiences before they had experiences. And had I have taken the right posture and position as relates to those experiences, I would have been a better person and a parent for them through their experiences. And so, listen, if you grew up in a household, man, where there wasn't love shown, then it's not too late. Just learn to show love. If there wasn't no communication, it's not too late. Just learn to communicate. Listen, it's not too late to do better. It's not too late to do better. But you have to first acknowledge those things and then start making the proper transitions and corrections in life in order to achieve those things. Go ahead, babe.
I mean that's all I pretty much have for you today.
Well, we got 20 more minutes, so get something else for me. Get something
um,
else for me.
well, now
Well,
you
well, let me
put
let
me
me
on the
let me ask
spot.
this. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. How how big of a struggle, or not how big of a struggle, were because of the lack of fathering that you should have received during that time, did it impact how you loved and related with others?
Oh yeah. I mean, first, okay, first and foremost, we all know Biological father wasn't in my life. You know, mommy was raising us on her own. You come in, you play a part, and you pretty much ignore home. It's like you're there, but you're not there. But not only that, with you not even stepping up to the role of the father, now you took my mother away from me. Now it's no parenting going on. Now, for me personally, it was no love to be felt. And it's not no excuse at all, but I took those feelings and I ran with them. Don't nobody care anyway. Don't nobody love me anyway. And I took them and I ran with them. Next thing you know, Shia was doing A, Shia was doing B, Shia was doing C, Shia ended up in prison, all because of the lack of love.
Now
All
that
because
that
of the lack of love.
that's huge because she kind of said something that I don't know if y'all heard she said it, but we're gonna talk about that at another date. You know what I'm saying? But again, because of that lack of love, man, love covers, guys. Let me say this: love covers. The Bible says that love covers the multitude of sins. It covers, and so if that love isn't there, man, there's no covering. And we all, if love was lacking, we all have gone out looking for love in all the wrong places. That's why it's easy for people to get hooked up with gangs. It's easy for people to get hooked up with all kinds of different relationships. Why? Because at the end of the day, all they're doing is looking for love. All they're doing is looking for somebody that love them regardless, love them in spite of, love them because of, because they should be loved. We all deserve love. We all deserve love. And so that lack of love, man, it was like she said, she just put her love in a bag. Hey, I'm
Yeah,
gone.
yeah,
I'm gone. And consequently, she wound up in places that she didn't want to be in. She didn't desire to be in. Shy, got another question for you. Did you resent your mom as well as myself for me coming into the family?
at at one point I did, but I don't know. It's just something about me, and knowing my mother really didn't have her mother that didn't allow me to hold that resentment long. Because she was always there though. So the resentment, it was very very short lived,
Okay.
very.
No, that was an excellent question, Jamie. Excellent question because you know it could have still been there. You know what I'm saying? And for some people, it is still there. For some people, they can't move past that. And it's important, man. And let me say this: it's important because again, I had to look at my father's upbringing. I had to look at his experiences, and I couldn't just put handcuffs on the man because he didn't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G without looking at what he was given and how for him what he may have thought was far greater than what he was given. And so it was wow. That I love the answer, Shah. And I'm glad when we know that what you're saying to be true. That's why we're talking today.
Yeah, and I mean, it puts you in such a bad place, and I apologized and apologized, and I never be able to apologize enough. But that short moment of resentment that I had for my mother, I tried to physically fight her. I tried to fight my mother, y'all.
Man, I
My
remember
mother.
that day.
It's
That was the
yeah,
day that I really became scared of your mother.
yeah. That was the day that the resentment went out the door too.
Yeah, that was the day that I really became scared of that woman. It was like,
Yeah,
no, you don't want to try that.
but for
But
real, I mean,
yeah,
some things they really do mess you up. They really do. play on your conscience and they eat at your heart. I mean, and it's real. It's real, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And so how would you say, because we still got a little time left, how would you say your relationship is with your blended father, stepfather, the man your mother married? How would you say your relationship is with him now in comparison to back then?
Now I love him. That hate, because I mean, I hated this dude for a long time. Just hated him. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's it's all love, like genuine love. And I mean, just coming from the place of healing for self, for self. You know what I'm saying? For self. You know, everything that happened, and even as a child becoming an adult and you starting to understand and see some things. No, I don't have kids yet, but I have sisters that have kids, and I've dealt with some kids, so you can see how things can continue to be a trickle down effect. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, what is it worth? What is it worth for me? Not not my life. Not my life, not my life, not anymore. That pain, just the hurting, just always being angry, you know, just upset. Just somebody can be outside and you know what I'm saying? I just get a thought and I'm ready to snap off on them all because of everything else that's inside, But for me, I'm just tired. I was just tired. So, it's just like, hey, I'm finally going to say, after all of these years, all of this stuff that I've been holding on to, and now that I'm grown, he ain't got no choice but to listen. He gonna listen, and he gonna hear me until I finish.
No, you absolutely true about that. I mean, you right about that. It was like, hey, listen, you gonna listen. You gonna listen to what I gotta say. And guess what? I had to listen to what she had to say. Because you can't keep saying you love and then you don't want to exhibit. You can't keep saying that. And so I literally just had to listen, like, hey, listen, hear what she has to say. And don't make what she's saying like it's not valuable. Like that's just you. No, 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 no. I played a role in that, a significant role, a major role. I played a major role in the development of a mindset of hatred and anger and frustration and hurt. I played a major role in that. So I couldn't approach this like I was innocent, like I didn't do anything, like, she tripping. No, bro, you know what you did. You know the role you played. Man up to it. You know what I'm saying? And Shy could tell you, I went to all three of my daughters and my son and repented. I had that conversation with them all. You know what I'm saying? And it was more than just a one-time repentance. You know what I'm saying? But I had to let them know that I repent and I apologize and I'm sorrowful for my actions, for the things that I've said and done. And then don't just do it. I had to start working on it. Like really put some things in place to let them know that I wasn't just all talk. You know what I'm saying? Like I really meant what I said and I said what I meant. And so I think that, not think, but I know that our relationship now is in a far, far better
Better
place.
place.
A far,
Yeah.
far better place.
And then, sometimes, every family, every situation is different. It may not always work that way, where, you express how you feel or you just let it all out. You might get the same thing, or receive the same actions that's been coming from that person for so long. But guess what? Once you let it all out, ain't nothing else that you can do. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing else that you can do. And I'm telling you, it takes so much off of you. Now, It's up to that person. It's up to that person, you know.
That's right. Got another response. Uh, actually, it's from my buddy, man. I've been knowing this guy, wow, for at least 40 years. Him and his brothers. It's about 20 of them guys. But D. Clayton Blaine said, in our culture at that time in the 80s, because we grew up right down the street from each other. When we were growing up in the area we grew up in, we were taught what goes on the house stays in the house. You know what I'm saying? And hey, listen, that's why we sharing what we sharing. Because although that's what you was taught, if somebody don't come out of that house and start dealing with some issues, this is the purpose of In the Blender. So that we can deal with issues that went on in the house so that you don't have to experience it in your house. We're not trying to get any awards or things that we didn't seek that out. We sought out deliverance. We sought out healing because had people shared with us their experiences, it may have altered our experience. And so we want to make sure that the experiences that we share, because even though the place that Shy and myself are in is awesome and great, let's be real. There's still degrees of hurt. There's still areas that linger of pain. And so while she's healed, she's still yet healing. While I'm healed, I'm still yet healing. We're all yet healing. That's a process. Sometimes it's instantaneously, sometimes it isn't. And so there's still areas and times where you can sense that healing is manifesting, it's taking place. Then there are times when you just know, okay, I'm healed of that. But this thing is real, man. And it's so many people that watch us, that view us, that hear us, on radio and things of that nature, other those other mediums, and you're struggling. You're going through, and we're sharing this because you don't have to go through, at least by yourself. You don't have to keep making the same mistakes, and you definitely don't have to keep making the same mistakes that we made. Because not only do we know the mistakes, but we know the corrections to those mistakes. See, we don't just share the mess, we share how to correct those messes. Like Shia said, give that communicate, have an open line of communication, love. You know what I'm saying? Open the door, not just the door to a room, but the door to your heart. For me, the struggle was I wasn't raising my son. So it was hard, it was hard raising other children when I wasn't even raising my son. And I'm not talking about not raising him in the sense of being a deadbeat dad. I'm saying not raising him because he over 1,000 plus miles away, and his mother going through some things, and I don't know what's going on. And so that carried on into this relationship, into this dynamic. And I didn't have open door where I could talk with somebody and they could share with me on how to handle those things. And so I took that hurt, I took that anger and that frustration, and I spewed it out on them. And listen, that's why we open this platform. If you guys got questions, you can reach us email at we are blended family at gmail.com. If you got any questions, um, any questions, any comments or whatever, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy, even on the broadcast, type your question in. We'll stop it. We see it, we'll stop and answer it, or at least try to, bring it to light so that there can be deliverance, man. This is what it's all about. This is about taking your family to that next place, to that next dynamic. Madeline said, we are blended family at gmail.com. That's our email address. We are blended family at gmail.com. Because listen, we're going to bring Shy back on because this girl got a story, man. She has a story. This is a phenomenal. Listen, this was my prayer partner. This was my prayer partner. Every morning when I drop her off to school, I made sure that we had prayer together. Although I was a butthole, I still made sure we had prayer together. I still made sure that she knew that there were greater things in place than just herself. And so and those were the things that, hey, she knew to go to when she got older. Train up a child in the way they should go. And when they get old, they won't depart from it. And so, although it was messed there still was foundations being laid. Our website also is intheblendedministries.com. So you can go to our website as well. But this wow, baby, this was good. This was good. We got about 5 more minutes. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we close out?
I mean, nah, not really. We touched on a lot of the things that well, I mean, you pretty much had already answered the questions. So it really not too much. No, no, unless somebody else have some questions or anything that they want to ask in
Is
these
it is it
last
is
five
there, is there
minutes.
one more question these last 4 minutes that we could try to get in there? Then we'll answer that. But if not, again, it's been an extreme blessing to have Shy on with me tonight, and because our role as fathers is paramount. We have a great responsibility, man, to the children that we're responsible for in this earth realm. And listen, guys, if you don't know how to be a father, ask somebody. Seek that information out, man. You will never find it if you don't seek it. The reason why I found some things is because I started seeking them. I wasn't seeking them before then. I just thought that it just I, the information that I needed would just be there. Boy, was I wrong. It was so much that I needed to learn, so much that I was missing, so much that because I was 20, I was 10 times two plus that I just did not know. Because we think we grown with 3 times 7. That would say 3 times 7 plus. I was 3 times 7 plus, and I thought it would automatically just come up. Nah, uh-uh. It wasn't until I began to seek this information. Wasn't until I began to seek knowledge and understanding and wisdom that I began to obtain it. And so, listen, I don't care how you entered into something. You can always be better. You can always be better. Find somebody that you can glean from. Find somebody that is really truly representing those standards in those positions that you want to. And then, man, strive to be better. We all have room to grow. We all have room to be better because as we're better, our families are better. And as our families are better, our communities are better. And as our communities are better, our cities and towns become better. And as our cities and towns become better, our states become better. And as our states become better, our countries become better. This thing is a trickle down effect, man. It starts with you. It starts with you. Last question for you, Shai, real quick. We got 2 minutes. If you could change one conversation with me here from back when things first hit ahead, what would it be?
If I can change one
One question.
conversation,
One conversation.
one conversation, the one conversation that I would change is the conversation that went, "I am not your father." I would
Mm,
change that. I would change that conversation. That was a real. Those conversations was real deep conversations for me because it
gotcha.
wasn't it wasn't like a ill will, like you said on your part, but it was more so a reminder that, hey, I ain't your father.
Yeah, because it, it
You
it
know?
it basically said you're not wanted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it basically said you're not wanted. And so, wow, Blaine, that was a great question. That was a great question. I think that would be one of the conversations that I would change. Uh, I got about three or four of 'em that I know I would really change. It would never ever say. But that's definitely one of them. That's definitely one of them. Listen, guys, we thank you for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. We thank our very special guest, Miss Shia Lene Clark,
Oh man.
for, for joining us on this evening. I tell you guys, it's been awesome. Listen, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach us at We Are a Blended Family at gmail.com. You can also view this broadcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, all the social media outlets we're on. Um, Again, Shia, uh, B. Clayton said, we love you and so deeply love your transparency. And so, again, we love your
Thank you. Love
transparency
y'all
here as
too.
well. Uh, Listen, guys, tune in. I think in another 2 weeks we'll be back, and we may have Shia back on with us then, so we can go into this conversation and just share her life and how she's just doing it big, because she's doing it big. And so, listen, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, God bless.